Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Umar Khaliba. Today is Friday, the 29th of October 2021. It's the last day of the week, but there are a lot of stories that we are going to discuss during the course of the show. Our first segment of the show concerns Pakistan's condemnation of the violence that has erupted in Tripura in India. There has been vandalization of the mosques, of the houses of Muslims over there, and it has been strongly condemned by the Pakistani Foreign Office towards India. We'll be talking about what has been happening in Tripura that has led to all of this in our first segment. In our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about the relationship that has become a bit tense between the European Union and Turkey of late. What kind of impact is that going to have as far as Turkey's economy is concerned? We know that Turkey had decided to expel around 10 foreign ambassadors. Then of course it withdrew that decision later on. But has that had any impact on its relationship with these countries, with the European Union, because of this decision to withdraw? Also, what will be the future of the Turkish relations with the EU? Will it be a member of the European Union? Turkey has been striving since quite some time to become a member of the European bloc, but let's see how it is going to take place, or will it take place? Also, the economy in Turkey is undergoing a lot of changes. Will it become better, or will it go towards the worst? This is going to be also part of our second segment. Then we will talk about, in our next story, about Facebook. Facebook has changed its name to Meta. Now, this Meta, of course, is in relationship to the metaverse, because it's going to now involve itself in a lot of augmented reality and other areas. So that is why it is calling itself Meta. So Facebook Incorporated becomes Meta, but this does not mean that your Facebook application will become a Meta application. It will still remain the Facebook application. This is going to be our next story. Then we'll be talking about the European Wildlife Photographer of the Year awards that have been held very recently, run by the German Society of Nature Photography. Angel Fitor of Spain has been named as the overall winner. His picture Medusa Ballet was chosen to be the best photograph by the Spanish photographer. Other categories also got a lot of winners in the birds category, mammals category, other animals, plants and fungi, landscapes and underwater world, and many other categories. And then we'll be talking about a gesture of kindness that has taken Pakistan and other countries by storm. Now you can see in this parallel window of this police constable who's taking this old man and helping him cross the street. Now this video that was shared on Twitter has had a lot of reactions, a lot of positive reactions, and it shows a gesture of kindness can bring a lot of change in the society. This is going to be our last story. Now, of course, let's begin the show without further delay. The first story that we'll be discussing is what is happening in Tripura, the vandalization, the burning of the houses, the anti-Muslim attitude. More in the following report.
Communal violence in India has always wreaked havoc upon minorities in India, but ascent of Hindu nationalist BJP to power further religious fault lines. The violent ideology and inflammatory rhetoric of BJP government led to brutalization of India, where minorities and particularly Muslims are constantly living in the climate of fear. There were speculations that deadly communal riots in Bangladesh would trigger bloody communal violence in saffron India, and those ominous predictions came true as anti-Muslim violence erupted in the Indian state of Tripura, whereby Tripura's Muslims, who form 9% of the population, are Bengali speakers. Over the past week, mosques have been reportedly ransacked in Tripura, shops plundered, and the home of prominent Muslim advocate was attacked by Hindu nationalist mobs. Locals alleged that violent attack took place in front of police, and in a video purportedly from Tripura, police officers in a riot gear can be seen as some buildings are set ablaze. The latest spree of violence depicts another BJP conspiracy against Muslims in their quest to erase the minority group from the public and private spheres. As these periodic waves of communal violence excessively damage Muslims economically, Indian government neither provided assistance to the affected shopkeepers and family nor took appropriate measures to prevent such provocative and disruptive acts. The narrowing space for minorities in India under Hindu nationalist government vividly exhibits the accuracy of two-nation theory.
Now, the photographs and the videos that have been shared on the social media show violent mobs who are wearing saffron, and of course saffron, as you know, is a symbol of the BJP-led government or the VHP, and they are raising anti-Muslim slogans, Hindu Jagran March, Bajrang Dal, Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh, and that and other parties have kind of joined hands to continue with this anti-Muslim tirade in Tripura. Mosques in Krishnanagar, Dharmanagar, Panisagar, Chandrapur have been vandalized by saffron-wearing youth on Friday night, and this has also been reported by a lot of Indian media outlets. The VHP brought participants broke window glasses, CCTV cameras of Krishnanagar Jamia Masjid. A mosque in Panisagar in the North Tripura district was also burned by a Hindu mob. In Kailashar locality, which is near Tripura's capital city Agartala, a mob surrounding the mosque shouted Jai Shri Ram and placed a saffron flag over there. This anti-Muslim and pro-Hindu tirade has been going on all across India of late, and what has happened in Tripura is just another episode. Hamid Khan Al-Mashriqi Saab, who's an analyst on foreign affairs, joins us online. Hamid Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Hamid Saab, a very sad incident that has happened in Tripura. Some media outlets say it's a reaction of what happened in Bangladesh. What is your point of view?
No, I disagree with that. This is a reaction of what's happening in Bangladesh. This is what's happening in India since Modi has taken over. We have seen what are they doing, demolishing so many Muslim mosques and religious places for the Muslims. And last week, Amit Shah visited the Ayodhya mosque, the place, where Babri Masjid place, where they call it Ayodhya, temple. So this is what Indian RSS ideology is doing. They are absolutely demolishing Muslim, all the religious, not only their mosques and religious places, rather they are trying to demolish the entire Muslim heritage from there as well. We have seen that what they are doing with so many Muslim sites as well. But this time, what India is trying to do is they are trying to give a message to 220 million Muslims in India that this India is not a place for them anymore, and they will keep demolishing their Muslim mosques, their religious places. And this is, the world, all the organizations has to take action against it. They have to take a notice of it. This is against all the basic human rights. And when India called themselves that today Modi is going to a G20 summit and other summits, I am really surprised that how these countries are even inviting Modi to participate in conferences like that. Well,
you remember Hamid Khan Al-Mashriqi Saab, that Modi was the same person that was denied entry to the United Nations and the United States at one time after the Gujarat riots. And this is the same Narendra Modi now who participates in all of these important meetings, despite the fact that this violence, these brutalities against the Muslims continue unabated.
Yes, exactly. This is the classic example of dual standard of all this Western world and modern world, that once he's become he's known as the butcher of Gujarat. He has killed thousands of Muslims, and his ideology and his followers are doing the same thing. We have seen the incidents of lynching, Muslim lynching, and we have seen the incidents what they did with the Maulana Gautam, that he reverted about 2,000 Hindus to Islam, and now he is behind the bars, that he has done it for the last 25 years. They cannot understand that Islam have its own way, and people who have a really understanding of any religion or anything, they will come to Islam. But they are forcefully not only stopping people to revert to Islam, rather in the name of Ghar Wapsi, they are bringing Muslims, forcing them to act like Hindus.
And
I'll tell you one thing.
You have heard of so many incidents, Hamid Saab, in the past as well, where old people were forced to chant Jai Shri Ram, their beards were trimmed out, and so on and so forth. And these incidents continue. We talk almost once a week at least about the brutalities on the minorities, especially the Muslim communities across India. And there are so many that we are forced to talk about them, or else we wouldn't.
Yeah, Umar, the thing is, we are talking about it, but what the world is doing about it, that's the question. We know what brutality is going on against Muslims in India. We know what atrocities going on in Kashmir. We know what India has done to other minorities, whether it was Sikhs or Christians in Goa and Kerala and other states. So this is the thing now. World organizations and human rights organizations and even United Nations needs to come forward and take some action against India, because if they will not do it, I am again and again warning that there will be a time when it will be too late, not only for India, it will be too late for the rest of the world as well. There will be
But
big
Hamid
anarchy
Saab, let's
there,
talk about
and
the
this is the
foreign reaction.
point
Let's
world
talk
needs.
about the Indian Prime Minister is going to a G20 summit, isn't he? And there, I mean, he's being called there, all the big countries will be there, but nothing will be talked about as far as what India is doing internally is concerned towards its minorities. Nevertheless, the same countries that are present in G20 are also the same countries that talk a lot about human rights and human values. Why this hypocrisy? Then they should stop talking about all of this externally as well and let India do
Yes.
whatever it wants and the other countries as well.
Exactly, that is the hypocrisy of these G20 countries and other countries, that when it comes to their economical benefit or when it comes to their economical ties, they kept their mouth shut against the atrocities and brutalities what's happening in India against the Muslims. This is, I would say, that all this, the sane voices from the world, they need to come together against their dual standard and hypocrisy of their own regime, of their own government, whether we talk about European Union, whether we talk about United Kingdom, whether we talk about United States or France or anywhere. I always give an example that how come a person has become so pure the day he became the prime minister. As you said, mentioned earlier, he was not even allowed to enter in United States, and then he became and hugging the President Trump, and now trying to be the best friend with Biden. This is the hypocrisy, and this is the world is gonna pay the price for this. I can see that the things are going to be out of the hands of Indians itself, because there is a limit of brutality and atrocities, and they will have to pay the price for those brutalities and atrocities what they are doing through their armed forces, through their courts, through their public, through their IRSS goons. So it is not that one institution or the government is doing, it is their media who's responsible for it. It is their judiciary
No,
who's
it's also their
responsible for
government
it.
and administration that is responsible for it. That pressurizes the media to follow suit and to say whatever they want to say. Despite that,
Yeah.
Hamid Saab, people in Tripura, let's come to Tripura. Now, people in Tripura are saying that it was a very well-planned attack on the different localities that has happened. And when you see all the different organizations that were present there, the protests, Vishwa Hindu Prashad, Hindu Jagran Manch, Bajrang Dal, Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh, I mean, these are all offshoots of the same thought process that is that of the RSS. Do
Yes.
you foresee more of that happening in the coming days?
Yes, unfortunately, I do foresee more of that happening, and they might have with more intensity. I mean, Tripura incident is a wake-up call for the rest of the Muslims living in India. I always urge that the rest of Muslim living in India, they have to come out of the shell of slavery of India. They have to talk about their rights now. They don't have to prove their loyalty to the India. They have to get the stand up for their rights now, because of the proving the loyalty with India is never going to
Will
work, as
they
Qaid Azam
be
said in
given the right
1947.
to stand up for their rights in India, Hamid Saab? Will they ever be given the opportunity?
No, I always believe that opportunity for standing for the rights is not an opportunity. It's the measure which you have to take in
Of
reaction of
course.
oppression which you face. So this is not that they will get it. They have to snatch the right of living equally with Hindus or other majority in India. Otherwise, India have no other fate but dividing into many countries. And again, even this will happen when the people of India, minorities, such a big minority, 20%. They have to stand up for their rights now, and the world has to support them. Pakistan is willing to support them. Turkey is willing to support them. Even many other Muslim countries will support them. But this is the time when the people living in India, they have to stand up and united. Unfortunately, there are groups in India, Muslim groups in India, and this is the typical technique which India used. They divided even Muslims within India. Now the Muslims in India have to be together, stand against atrocities, stand against unjust and unfair treatment being minority. They are treating them as a third-rate citizen or worse than a slave in 21st century.
All right, Hamid Saab, now Islamophobia, this is one thing that brings to mind when you see all of this happening, this fear that is being brought and perpetrated by such incidents on Islam, of Muslims. And this is what our government and our Prime Minister has frequently talked about on different fora, including the United Nations as well. Don't you feel some kind of a strong action needs to be taken now by the OIC as well on what India is doing to the Muslim community within its country? Or will
Definitely,
India say that
definitely.
it is an internal matter and you have no right to
No,
talk
no,
about
no.
it?
It is not an internal matter at all. It is a matter of 1.3 billion Muslims around the world. It is a matter of peace in the region. It is the matter of the Muslim Ummah. And OIC has to come forward. And I always urge that if we cannot get a unanimous voice from 53 countries, let's have a G8 type Muslim forum, about eight or six or nine big Muslim countries together, and give a strong message and shut up call to India for what they are doing against Muslims. And I believe that in coming days, I hope and believe, inshallah, that Saudi Arab, Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, Malaysia, Indonesia, they all can come on one platform, and they have to support the cause of the security and the safety and the rights of Muslims in India. And they have to work to put some kind of sanctions. They have to work a kind of boycott, of economical boycott with Indian trade. They have to work to send the Indian labor back to their countries, so that Indian economy will face some kind of jolt. Millions of Indian non-Muslims are working in Gulf states and other Muslim countries. They have to get a strong message that if there are atrocities with Muslims in India, then they have no place to work in those Muslim countries. And to make the money and stronger and strengthen the economy of India, to be able to do the more atrocities against Muslims. This is the kind of actions which needs to be done, must be, for all these rich Muslim countries.
All right. Now, Hamid Saab, Gujarat 2002, New Delhi 2020, Assam to 2021, Tripura 2021. Following Pakistan's win against India in the T20, so many different acts that have happened within India against Muslims. Shah Rukh
Yes,
Khan's
yes.
son being deliberately put into jail for weeks and weeks. He's just been given bail. And I mean, so on and so forth. There are so many stories about Muslims who are being victimized inside of India, and of course, Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Don't you feel this all of this is going to lead to so much of polarization within India that India could, I mean, bifurcate into many other different states in the future if this continues unabated?
Yes, undoubtedly. That's, as I said, that this is what India is going towards its own fate. If they will continue humiliation of Muslims, if they will continue isolating the minorities, if they will continue atrocities with minorities, this will be the outcome of what they are doing. But the thing is that there should be a limit of atrocities and brutalities. If you look into the situation, you gave the example. I would like to remind you, in only 2015, there was more than 15 incidents of Muslim lynching on the name of the cow meat or beef meat. And would you believe it that even there was a report that this is the first time that the Prime Minister of the country has not said a single word against the perpetrators or criminals? Can you believe it that the crime is happening and the courts and everything kept quiet? This is worse than a fascist government. I mean, this there is no example like that where the people who are suffering was been called as culprit. They were the one who've been put behind the bars. So this is what is happening for the last 8 9 years since Modi has taken over. I mean, I was reading a research that in 70 years of Indian history, these 7 years are the first time that the Hindu, the population is increasing in terms of number of Hindus. So always it was decreasing because people were reverting to Islam and other religions in India. But for the last 8 9 years, the trend has been changed. It is not changed. It is the fear which has kept them or forced them
Exactly,
to
and it
stay
is
in
the
that
fear,
religion.
this fear that needs to end, and it is the Muslim community within India that needs to stand up for their rights, as you have very ably said, Hamid Khan al-Bashriki Saab. And this is how there could be a stability in the future, because as we see things, the way they are moving forward, the Hindutva-driven BJP, RSS combined, it has a track record of conducting massacres across the country, and this will not stop until and unless there is some kind of a rebellion from within India or some kind of external pressure on India to stop what it is doing. Let's go to our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, now, which concerns the relationship between Turkey and the European Union. Both relations were relations between both the entities were established in 1959. Institutional network was formed in 1963, but of late there have been some tensions that have come up. What is going to be the fate of this relationship? More in the following report.
The future of European Union-Turkey relations is marred by myriad taxing challenges as the relationship hit new low when Turkey threatened to expel Western ambassadors. The astounding decision was triggered by a joint statement from the ambassadors urging Ankara to abide by a 2019 European Court of Human Rights ruling in the high-profile case of Osman Kavala, a businessman and a philanthropist who has been held in pretrial detention for 4 years on terrorism charges. Along with Kavala, thousands more people have been arrested and tried in Turkey in relation to the 2013 Gezi Park protests and the failed coup attempt in 2016. In a joint statement that triggered the crisis, ambassadors wrote that Kavala's case cast a shadow over respect for democracy, the rule of law, and transparency in the Turkish judiciary system. But Ankara alleges that Western envoys are not abiding by a diplomatic convention not to interfere in a host country's internal affairs. Though President Erdogan de-escalated diplomatic spat after backing down from expelling 10 Western, including those from 7 NATO allies, but the tense episode reignited debate upon future of European Union-Turkey ties. The impulsive expulsion of the Western ambassadors would have been an unprecedented development in relations between NATO allies, threatening to trigger biggest diplomatic rift between Turkey and the West during Erdogan's nearly 20 years in power. This tense episode reverses a year of overtures from the Turkish leader which appeared to be aimed at rapprochement with Joe Biden and European states. Turkey has long strived to garner inclusion in the European Union and embarked on myriad reform efforts to pave way for its constructive engagement with European bloc, but recent diplomatic spat casts bleak shadow upon Turkey's European Union integration process.
Now, Dr. Jamil Khan, who's a former ambassador, joins us online. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us and to have become the part of Newsroom for this very important segment. How do you view the current relationship between the European Union and Turkey? Do you feel that it is going on a decline? Do you feel there are possibilities of it strengthening in the future? Or do you feel there are impediments in it that will take a long time to resolve?
Nothing on the horizon to see if this relation, which is at its lowest ebb between EU, European Union and Turkey, could improve in the foreseeable future during the Erdogan time. And it has not happened all of a sudden. As a matter of fact, July, in a recent past, July 20, Tayyip Erdogan had said that we'll walk out from NATO. And at that time, the French ambassador in Turkey said that, you can't have one foot in the European Union and one foot in Russian camp and one foot in Western camp. So from there it started. And also there was a rift between Greece and Turkey on the law of high seas, where the continental shelf dispute had arisen. And at that time also Erdogan had really raised this point. And Turkey was supported by the entire European Union at that time. And now it's just, I would say, last nail in the coffin that 10 ambassadors expulsion under the Vienna Convention, Article 9, was ordered by Tayyip Erdogan.
I mean, that decision was reversed, Dr. Saab, but do you feel the damage has been done?
Well, that cracks have, there's a whole lot of a history. And once I deliberate further on this point, you'll see that there is a pattern of this deteriorating relationship between Turkey and European Union. And I will then highlight something about perhaps the geopolitical impact and influence. Besides Tayyip Erdogan, his own unique style of governing and administering his own country, he tries to, take solo decision, and at so many occasions. For example, Central Bank of Turkey, they were making hue and cry that they got the presidential order to lower down the interest rate, which created a devastation in the Turkish lira in its economy. So that said, now the situation is that Tayyip Erdogan has reached to a level due to his foreign policy now, what he is directing himself. And now, where we have heard in the world that two state leaders, two statesmen, the French president, the Turkish president say that mental state, is in disorder of French president, and French president says that, and then radical Muslim in France are being supported. And the Turkish president, of course, had taken a very good stand on the caricature of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So all these things, if we combine together, at that time also, Turkish president was supported by the entire European Union. Not only that, right. Greece president says, just day before yesterday, it says that Tayyip Erdogan has fueled the religious fanaticism. And in the name of clash of civilization, I never heard in the diplomatic history that the situation would go to that level. So to me, I think this deterioration is really going to a stage where it will become very difficult to repair. This very damage.
Dr. Saab, you talked about NATO during your conversation right now, a few minutes back. Do you feel that there are fissures also that have developed in Turkey's relationship with NATO? Because as we see, on one hand, Turkey is trying to buy F-16s from the United States. On the other hand, it is buying the S-400 missile defense system from Russia. Do you feel that this is going to create further issues between NATO and Turkey?
Well, that has already created that. In fact, and that's why I was mentioning about those two camps, one foot in one camp and the second foot in the second camp. What I can foresee now is that the bloc, which is Russia, China, Pakistan, Turkey, Iran, and the Central Asian countries, the Turkey is drifting towards this bloc. And your indication, as you mentioned, about S-400 and the other equipment, defense equipment, which is being purchased, because S-400 is total threat to the NATO deployment there in terms of their missile system and in terms of their all the deployment which they have made. So from that angle, yes, that by itself challenges. So adding this point to the fresh episode, we can very conveniently make out that how the relation between European Union and Turkey is being derailed. And the summit, which is going to take place tomorrow in Scotland, under the chairmanship of Joe Biden, which is G20 summit, my hunch is that on the sideline, they are going to really discuss this point as well. The geopolitical interest of United States would be to somehow retain Turkey and somehow do some firefighting and see that Turkey totally doesn't drift away from the NATO altogether at this very critical juncture of time. So,
you talk about this critical juncture of time, and you say that, of course, a lot of relationships have been fissured or fractured between Turkey and the European Union, Turkey and the NATO, and, of course, the different camps that Turkey is trying to get involved in at the same time. Do you think Turkey can be advised by certain countries? As you said, that the United States will try its level best to retain Turkey. But do you feel that, the US could come under immense pressure from the other countries that are now kind of making that block against Turkey? Or do you feel the US has enough power or pressure in itself to tell the others to give Turkey some time in order to remove some of the hindrances that exist between the EU and Turkey?
Well, it depends how much Joe Biden administration prevails on the European Union at this point in time, and how much flexibility Turkish president can show Tayyip Erdogan. if they stop, exchanging these hot words at the diplomatic level and its statesman level, at the head of state level, then in that case, perhaps one could feel that it can, uh, for the time being, it can have some coolness in it. But otherwise, the way the trajectory is going, it appears that it's going to be difficult. But the way Turkey is drifting from there, I'm sure Turkey must have seen about its economic condition. It's really, again, in a very dismal condition. All
That
right,
is
and
what I wanted
Turkey
to
has
come
its.
towards, Dr. Saab. The economy of Turkey, lira, has taken a certain stumble. I mean, you talked about the Central Bank of Turkey also during your discussions some time back during this segment. What needs to be done now by the Turkish government in order to stabilize its economy? What's your take on that?
Well, Turkey has to suffer, if they, because Turkey top trade partners are Germany, which is 60 billion, UK, which is 11 billion, US, which is 10 billion, Italy, which is 8 billion, France, 7 billion. So altogether, most of its trade is, and Turkey has one of the unique agreement with the EU, and that's known as the EU-Turkey Custom Union. 1996, they were able to do this agreement. And by virtue of this agreement, Turkey has a singular privilege to send its goods without tariff in the European Union. So that is the biggest advantage Turkey is likely to lose, and its export would further dwindle. And once that happens, lira has already lost 200% its value almost. It was 300. It was $1 to 3 lira just about 5 years ago, and now it's $1 to 9 lira, 9.7 something. So it's really sliding down so much that the economy has to be. And if this bloc, I don't foresee that the transition of its economy or trade diplomacy of Turkey, they would be able to readjust themselves with this bloc. But they will have to retake the hit so far as their economy is concerned. And
All right. You said the economy is going to take a hit as far as Turkey is concerned. Do you also feel that the internal governance of Turkey would also take a hit? Rajab Tayyip Erdogan has been at the helm of affairs since quite some time, since quite a number of years in Turkey now. Do you feel, sir, that looking at all the issues that are plaguing Turkey right now, whether it be the relationship with the EU, with NATO, or the economic woes that it is facing, will it have some impact on the internal governance of Turkey?
Always, whenever there is an economic situation goes to this level, the opposition does exploit that, and the people definitely feel about it. See what's happening in Pakistan. Everything was almost going smooth, but once the price hike started, political parties were able to exploit and to bring the population and some their own supporters on the road. Turkey, again, the economic situation is one part, and Gulen part is the second part, the opposition leader, and he's being supported. That party is being supported by the entire Western world. That's one aspect. And second aspect is the Turkish foreign policy now is not yielding its proper results as people were thinking. People had somehow pinned up very high hopes in the improvement in their economy and their situation, their welfare and well-being. Now, once that starts, then obviously the internal situation gets deteriorated, and once the internal situation gets deteriorated, the external forces which are against Turkey, or Turkey president at least, because of his very strong views, and which is in many respects is absolutely perfect views about defending the Islamic countries' ideology and Islamic countries' purpose for which the OIC was made and others. So the other forces then come into action and they support the other group of the political party, and there it all depends to what extent the governance and to what extent the control of Tayyip Erdogan continues. There are cracks in the society which has developed in last couple of years. So those cracks could be exploited by the opposition as well as supported by the other powers.
Now, you talked about cracks. One of the crack between the European Union and Turkey concerns the human rights situation, whether it be the high-profile case of Osman Kavala, whether it be the 2013 Gezi Park protests. There have been a lot of questions that have emanated from the European Union as far as Turkey's situation is concerned. What do you have to say on that? Do you feel that Turkey could improve on that situation to further improve its ties maybe in the future with the European Union, or do you feel Turkey will have a status quo as far as its current situation is concerned?
Mr. Kavala is a billionaire and philanthropist, all right? And he's being supported by the entire Western world. And that's why these 10 ambassadors had given the statement, which is in contravention with the host countries' own foreign policy and host countries' internal matter. So that became the flashpoint of this relation, which all of a sudden, sparked off. The human right improvement, well, it's a matter of interpretation. No one looks at the Kashmir human rights, despite the fact that the human right commissioner with
Palestine,
the tears
who looks at
rolling down the
Palestine
cheeks, and Palestine, Kashmir, you name any. The collateral damage in Afghanistan. No one talks about those kind of human right. The depleted uranium, which would go on in Afghanistan and Iraq for next about 60 to 70 years, and people would have distorted children in those countries. So there, no one asks about it. Here, it's Mr. Kavala. Kavala is in the prison for the reason that he violated the law of the land, and the human rights issue all of a sudden was taken up. So it's all, if we just look at it in a broader perspective, they want to now punish Turkey because of the fact that they having now their foreign policy has really brought some new adjustment in terms of the relations with Russia also, and all the deployment which is in the Turkish territory, particularly the NATO nuclear assets. They are under threat once Turkey follows this very policy any further.
All right. Final question, Dr. Saab. Do you feel that Russia should incline itself more now towards China, Russia, Pakistan, Iran, this whole bloc? And do you feel this is going to be the new bloc that might counter the other blocs that are currently present around the world? What's your take on that?
The transition would take some time, because if we compare apple with apple and orange with orange, then we'll see that the military assets with the United States is much higher. For example, the United States has $170 billion of the budget of defense, whereas China has only $71 billion budget of the defense. But China and Russia together, they have really taken an edge with the United States, and that is space weaponization. Space weaponization is threatening the USA, and China very recently has tested some weapons.
Of course, there's a whole change in the global scenario as far as the geopolitical, geostrategic situation is concerned. And of course, Turkey is more or less in the midst of all of that because of its strained relationship with the EU, because of its strained relationship with NATO as well, and because of its strengthening ties with Russia and other countries from other blocs as well. Thank you very much, Dr. Jameel Saab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about this very, very important relationship that is seeing a new low that is between Turkey and the European Union. All we can say is that we wish that this relationship comes back to its earlier state, that the world becomes a better place to live in. But of course, let's see how things roll up in the coming months and years. Let's come to very quickly to our last segments. First of all, concerns Facebook. Facebook has now changed its name to Meta because it is focusing on virtual reality, augmented reality, a lot of things, a lot of portals that it has. I mean, Portal is one of Facebook's inventions as well. There are some others as well that is focusing itself on. So Facebook Incorporated now becomes Meta. That does not mean that your Facebook app on your mobile phones is going to change to Meta as well. It is going to remain Facebook. Nevertheless, it's the corporation that has changed its name to Meta from Facebook. What Mark Zuckerberg says that right now our brand is so tightly linked to one product that it can't possibly represent everything that we are doing today, let alone in the future. One of the reasons that he has changed the name to Meta. Well, let's see how that bodes for Facebook, despite all the controversy that it is currently handling with the whistleblower as well, that has talked about a lot of issues, whether it be of Facebook not being able to control properly the anti-Muslim sentiments that have emanated in India and that emanated on social media platforms, especially on Facebook. Let's go to our last segment, and ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the European Wildlife Photography of the Year Awards. This is run by the German Society for Nature Photography, and there have been the winners that have been announced. The leading winner, the overall winner, is a Spanish guy. His name is Angel Fitor, and his photograph is known as Medusa Ballet, that has been chosen as the photograph of the year. 19,000 entries were made for this award, and he is on the top of that. There are other categories as well in the birds. Terje Kolas from Norway has gotten the best award for bird migration. In mammals, it's Danny Green from the United Kingdom for his picture of After the Rain. In other animals, Jan Pedersen from Sweden on the emerald dragon. On plants and fungi, Tobias Richter from Germany on the Herfrost. On landscapes, Annette Mosbacher from Switzerland on the Tree of Life. And in the underwater world photography, it's Fabrice Guérin from France who's got the picture of the year for his picture on water ballet. And of course, there are many other categories, but nevertheless, you get the gist of it. Photography is a passion for a lot of people, including myself. And of course, it brings out the best of different parts of our world. The world is such a beautiful place to live in, and these photographs show exactly that. And then our final segment of the day, ladies and gentlemen, concerns a gesture of kindness. A gesture of kindness that kind of took social media by storm, especially Twitter. If you can see in the parallel window right now, you can see that their local traffic warden in Lahore was helping a blind old citizen cross the road. He took him in his arms and he helped him cross the road. Somebody took a video of it. This was not intentional, and this video then was shared on social media and took everybody by storm, especially in Pakistan. You know, a small gesture of kindness goes a long way. Our society needs to see a lot of positivity, and this is just one small example of that positivity. We can bring that change in our society, in our country, if we go on doing positive gestures such as this one. Salute to the guy, to this traffic warden who helped this blind man. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom, ladies and gentlemen. It's the end of the week. We implore you to follow the SOPs to get yourself vaccinated against the pandemic, and also take a lot of care and be very vigilant when it comes to the dengue virus, because there are a lot of cases in Islamabad also and in Lahore also. And of course, there's also the issue of smog that is slowly and steadily developing, so be very careful when you go on the motorway towards Lahore, or if you are in Lahore, be very careful in the evening times. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. Have a great weekend, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you again on Monday. Allah Hafiz.